Looking for a guaranteed way to create content that resonates with your audience? Start a podcast. Interview your ideal clients and let them choose the topic of the interview. Because if your ideal clients care about the topic, there's a good chance the rest of your audience will care about it too. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm Jonathan Green.
And I'm James Carberry.
Let's get into the show. Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. Today we are joined by Joe Chernov. Joe is the VP of Marketing at InsightSquared. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm glad that we were able to connect today. We've got kind of a compelling title for today's episode because we're going to be talking about sales, marketing, and the unsung heroes of today's growing companies. But before we get into that, Joe, I'd love it if you could tell our listeners a little about what you and the InsightSquared team are up to these days.
Sure. InsightSquared is a sales intelligence provider. So we're a software company that sells primarily to technology companies. And if you think of all of the reports you would like to be able to get out of your CRM, but for whatever reason, your CRM just doesn't provide you with that data or that data in a usable format, well, chances are we've got a report that covers that. And so we are basically the reporting engine that would sit on top of your CRM investment. Very
cool. And you are the VP of marketing. You know, anything going on with exciting with your marketing team these days? You know, anything specific about the marketing at InsightSquared happening?
Yes, we are launching our very first event in 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, we're going to have a conference that we're calling RAMP. And the conference is going to focus by and large on sales operations leaders. And we're expecting to have 200, 250 people come into Fenway Park in Boston. Jim Rice will be there. The ops guy from the Red Sox will be speaking. A woman who runs the Kraft Analytics group. So Bob Kraft of New England Patriots fame, his data analyst team, the head of that group will be presenting, as well as, leaders from a variety of tech companies, including Salesforce.com, are all either sponsoring or presenting or doing a little of both. So it's our first one of these. We're in the throes of sort of the last mile here. It's coming up in just under 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, it's crunch time now. So then an extra special heartfelt thank you for taking some of your valuable time as you come down the home stretch, sharing your expertise here with us on the show. So Joe, let's just jump into it. Recently, you and your team sort of collaborated with some of the LinkedIn content and research teams to produce a piece of content. What was that blog? What was that content all about?
So we teamed up with the LinkedIn content research team. Those are the right two groups within LinkedIn to try to get a better understanding of what's happening with sort of marketing and sales is back office function. That is the operations function. A lot is written about, for lack of a better term, front office marketing and sales functions, right? If you want to learn about content marketers or inbound marketing, right, there's any number of resources on that. Same on the sales side. If you want to learn about sales leadership and sales methodologies, the internet is awash in that information. But behind those more public persona is a more private persona, the operations group that makes sure the trains run on time. Mm-hmm. And yet there's very little published about them. And yet those front office people would not be successful without them. And so we wanted to team up with LinkedIn to try to shine a brighter light on these functions and the people behind them. Like, where did they go to college? What did they study? Where are they from geographically? Is there a gender skew? What size companies do they work for? What industries do they work in? And LinkedIn came back to us with just a massive amount of data that we partnered with a designer to visualize.
That's great. And as you're describing sort of this back office operations group, I don't even know why. I'm immediately envisioning sort of the USS Enterprise and you have all your main, you have your captain, your first officer, you have all your main characters who always get to go off and have these grand adventures, and they're the focus of every spectacle and every firefight. But then you always have, of course, the operations group milling around in the background, making sure that the ship is righted, making sure that everything is running smoothly. I don't know why that's the immediate picture that I get, but it is this idea that you have your sales and marketing heroes out there on the front lines, grabbing attention. Like, they are there to make themselves known. They want to share their story. They enjoy the spotlight, but there is this huge group of people that are keeping things running day to day.
Absolutely. Look, without somebody having a blueprint of the ship, they could never find where all those tribbles were hiding.
Wow. Tribble. All right. We're talking to a true Trekkie, ladies and gentlemen. That's fantastic. So, Joe, tell me then a little about some of the findings that you were able to unearth. What are some things that you discovered? And I'm sure, even the things that you discovered just continued to lead to other questions as well.
Yeah, I think that's sometimes the mark of an interesting project. I think the mark of an interesting project is that for every question you answer, it opens up at least one more question. And we found a lot of that wanting to double click on static images and go a little deeper. And so maybe we'll circle back with the LinkedIn team and do, another rev of this. But for the time being, I thought it was very interesting. I thought the university research was interesting. These are fairly high-paid positions and sophisticated positions with advanced skills, and yet the minority of folks that are in ops roles, at least according to LinkedIn, went to a private school. The minority got an advanced degree. Most attended state schools. I'm one. Most attended state schools and have a bachelor's degree or no degree at all. And so I found that to be reassuring. I also thought, and this is not in the graphic, but we looked at what the most commonly attended university was for each of these roles. And the top university for two of the three functions, I forget if it was sales and marketing or sales and business ops, but was a for-profit university. And so even for-profit universities, they're churning out talent in this industry. And I thought that was particularly intriguing. On the flip side, I've worked in two companies that invest pretty heavily in a certification program. So, we ran programs to get marketing ops professionals proficient enough on our product to kind of give them a badge and a certification that says this person is product certified. And one of the reasons we did that is we expected them to share that achievement, and the sharing of that achievement creates a bit of a virtuous cycle. At least we imagined it would create a bit of a virtuous cycle where people would see it on their LinkedIn and want to go and pursue that certification itself. And then maybe having a certification makes you more likely to buy that product in the next company you go to. And yet, less than 1% of ops people have a certification displayed on their LinkedIn. Now, I know firsthand that more people have these certifications than are displaying them. But if our goal, and if those companies' goals continues to be to create these certification programs, at least in part for brand awareness, it looks like that piece isn't working out so well.
And Joe, also, I know that we're of course we're gonna share the infographic that I've had a chance to look at. We're gonna share the blog post, but there is at least an element, when you're looking at some of the differences between sales ops, business ops, marketing ops. I mean, was there anything that you found looking at the differences between these levels of operations? Was there any insight, or was this again a case of sort of creating more questions?
Yeah, it created more questions. Like, a question I have is, there are more people currently in sales ops roles than in marketing ops or business ops. And yet there are more open job listings for business ops professionals. So that makes me wonder if business ops is going to supersede sales ops and become the next hot ops category, or if business ops is subsuming sales ops and marketing ops, and maybe business ops isn't so much a peer but a roll-up position, or maybe there are just fewer people with biz ops skills and those positions sit out there longer. They're simply harder to fill. I'd like to double click on that a little bit. I would like to have historical information to see, like, over time, did these positions rise and fall? Like, are there fewer marketing ops positions simply because it's a younger specialty? That's entirely possible. So I would like to learn a little bit more about these functions in some of those areas I just mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Joe, in the course of your research, in the course of putting together this information, was there anything that stuck out to you as, I don't know, maybe a piece of advice or something to think about as leaders out there and executives are hiring for these sort of back office operations roles?
Well, look to the tech sector. The most ops professionals in aggregate are in technology, particularly software industry. And the industry is known to be early adopters of technology. That's sort of asked and answered right there. It's self-evident. But if I were in a different industry and I were looking for somebody to fill one of those ops functions, I would look to tech first. There's just the highest density of those pros in that industry, and I think they've been at it a little bit longer. That would be one takeaway. The other takeaway that I have, and I don't know how much it's hiring advice as much as it's just sort of reassuring, is with the exception of sales ops, business ops and marketing ops are evenly divided along gender lines. And if you think of tech as being the primary vertical for these functions, it is encouraging for an industry that has struggled with gender diversity, that at least in two of the three areas of ops specialties, there's an even divide along gender lines. I think there's a little ground for sales ops to make up. I wonder if part of the reason sales ops has more males is sales has historically skewed male overall, and maybe some people shift from sales roles to sales ops roles, and maybe that's what's causing that imbalance. But the other piece in fire hiring is, I'd be aware that, like, if I want to make sure that my company is a diverse organization, this is an area where diversity is certainly within reach.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Joe, you and your team have certainly done your due diligence. We're going to be sharing, like I said, that information in the show notes. But if anyone in our audience is interested in following up with you and learning more about your research or learning more about InsightSquared, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Me personally, at Joe Chernov, Chernov on Twitter. That's the fastest way to get a response from me. And if you message me there, we can take it offline if it's something that needs a deeper conversation. If it's something breezy, I can just respond publicly.
Sounds great. Joe, again, thank you so much for your time today. And a very special, of course, good luck to your big first event in 2 weeks.
Thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate the time.
If you've been getting value from this podcast, you can help us reach more people by reviewing the show on iTunes. Here's how you can leave a review in less than a minute. Open your podcast app and tap the search icon in the bottom right corner. Type in B2B Growth, then select our show. Once you're there, tap the Reviews tab and tell us what you think of the show. These reviews help us out a ton.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.